Hello everybody, and I want to welcome everyone to this episode of the Booze Geek. My name is Charles, I am your host, and before I get started, if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, and if you like this episode, hey, hit that like button too. Give us a big thumbs up, and we appreciate the support. But on this episode, we are going to be starting our wonderful journey into the world of sake. Now, for starters, I'm going to throw this out there. I know sometimes sake is referred to as rice wine. Well, we're going to scratch that one off the list right now because in actuality, sake and wine have almost nothing in common. Maybe the fact that they're both alcoholic beverages, that's probably about it. But on the other hand, sake and beer have a lot in common, starting with the fact that, number one, they're both brewed. Now, when it comes to premium sake, there are generally three main ingredients. Number one is water. Number two is rice. Number three is a secret weapon. Number three is the koji, which helps with the yeast and the fermentation. Now, what specifically is koji? Well, koji, as I said, is the secret ingredient. And most craft sake brewers, or just sake brewers in general, grow their own koji. Koji is a fungus. And what they do is they will spray the koji spores over the warm steaming rice, and that starts the fermentation process, which will convert the sugars, or the starch in the rice into sugars. Now, the koji also infuses most of the flavors and aromas into the sake as well. So that's why it's the secret ingredient, and that's why it's under wraps from all the breweries to keep their kojis hidden, and how they make them and how they grow them. It's all hidden. So with that being said, the second big thing about premium sake is there are essentially three main types of premium sake. And what makes them premium and what puts them in these three different tiers are, number one, the strains of rice used, the polishing of the rice, and just in general, how rare it is, how rare the rice strains are. Now, there's a few other factors with that as well, but those are the main reasons. Now, what are those three tiers of premium sake? Well, the bottom tier, or I'll just call it the third level tier. Third level tier sakes are Junmai sakes. Then you have a little higher quality. These are the second tiered ones. These are the Junmai Ginjo sakes. And then the ultra premium and the rarest type of sakes, the number one, top tier here, those are the Junmai Daiginjo sakes. So I know that's a hell of a lot of information on sake, and you know what? There's more to it than that, but in a nutshell, those are the basics. But sake has its own world. It's all brewed. It's a wonderful world to start exploring and getting into. So with that, the sake we're going to be tasting and reviewing today, this is from the Yamada Shoten Brewery in Japan, and Yamada Shoten translates to everlasting roots. This is their TOKUBETSU JUNMAI. And this sake clocks in at 15% ABV. So, finally, I'm going to unscrew the top on this bottle, give us a pour, and let's give this review started. Here we go. And most sake bottles are also screw top, which are nice. And I know there's just enough in this bottle to do a tasting. That should do it. Now, sake can be drank one of three ways. Sake can be chilled, it can be room temperature, or some people do like to warm it up. The difference between the temperatures, sometimes it'll mask or hide. If it's chilled, it'll mask or hide some of the flavors and aromas. If it's warmed up, it may do the same thing, dissipate some of those flavor or aromas. I like to have my sake at room temperature. I think that's the best way to get the bouquet of aromas and to get the most out of the flavor. But with all that, let's give this one a swirl. Now, we have the color on this. The color is almost clear. It's just off clear. There is almost a yellowish, a very, very light yellow hue to that. I'm not sure if you can see that on camera or not. So it's not clear. There is a slight bit of color in this. But let's swirl this and let's give this a nose. Here we go. Sake episode number 1. See, also sakes are very, very delicate too. So what do we have? Well, we have a little bit of nuttiness. And not crazy nuttiness, just nuttiness. There is a little bit of peach, some slight pear blossom, and some slight flowery notes. But let's give this a swirl and let's give this a little sippy sip. Here we go. KANPAI! Yummy. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Now, most sakes are very delicate and light-bodied. This is a light-bodied sake. And the balance on this is pretty good. Now, flavor profile. Now, I am getting some of that nuttiness, which is coming through quite nicely. It's a little bit rustic. Or earthy. There is a little bit of those flower overtones coming through. And just a hint. Let me take one more sip here. There's a hint of sweetness coming through. And there's almost, I don't want to say, I'm going to say a little bit about that pear blossom. It's like a pear-like sweetness, but it's not, you're not tasting pear. Which is interesting. Now, the balance on this is really nice. I think the nuttiness is coming forward the most, and the earthiness. And it's definitely those flavors are overshadowing kind of the flowery overtones, and I said the pear blossom. But overall, nice job. Really, really nice job. Now, how would I rate this? I personally think for an everyday sake, I'm going to give this one an 8, a solid 8. I think this is a very nice drinking everyday sake. The balance is really nice. The flavors are nice. The aromas are nice. And as I said, I prefer mine at room temperature. However, you could serve this slightly chilled, and you could warm this up a little, maybe to 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, which would be okay. But I just think when you vary with the temperature like that, it'll mask or hide some of the flavors or aromas. But experiment and see what you like, because sometimes every once in a while I don't mind the chilled sake. And now, like I said, if it is one of the top tiers, like if it is a Junmai Daiginjo or a Junmai Ginjo, or even the Junmai, which this is, I prefer them room temperature. If you get some of the non-premium sakes, then sure, I would start experimenting with those types, because these sakes do get a little pricey. I'm not sure what the exact price on this bottle is per se, but these could retail for $20 or more, give or take. But yeah, I know, like I said, I'm going to take another sip of this. I got to loosen up a little bit on this episode, eh? Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm just doing fine. But with that being said, I'm going to stick with the 8 on this one. I want to thank everyone for tuning into this episode. I know this one ran a little bit longer, but a lot of information going on about sake on this one. But yeah, I think everyone should go out and grab a bottle or two of sake and start their journey into sake and experiment and see what they think. But like I said, I want to thank everyone for tuning in on this episode, and as always, you can follow me at the website, which is www.pubshaveapintin.com, or at the blog, www.pubshaveapintin.blogspot.com. And once again, thanks for tuning in, and thanks for the support, and we will see you all on the next episode. So with that, I'm going to raise the glass. Cheers! KANPAI! PROST! And enjoy!